Hey guys, I am so excited because we are finally going back out on tour, and this is going to be our biggest tour yet. We are hitting a lot of cities, coming to a city near you, and this tour is going to be unlike the last tour and unlike any episode or case that we have ever presented. It's going to be an all-new exclusive case, an entirely new approach, interactive with you guys, and it is just going to be so great. I am so excited to connect with all of you guys. I am very eager for you to hear this case, and it's just going to be an unforgettable night. So tickets are on sale now, but grab yours now before they're gone. You can get all of the information at annieelise.com. I will also link it in the show notes, and I'm really excited to see you there. So head to annieelise.com, grab your tickets, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new episode of 10 to Life with me, Annie Elise. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you aren't watching this with a friend, because we're talking about a case today where there's friendship and betrayal, and it shows you what people are truly capable of. So if you are with a friend, maybe just give them a little bit of a side eye, a little, are you who you say you are? Are you really my friend? Do you really have my best interest at heart? I'm sure they do, but as we know, you can't trust anybody in this world. That was not the way I wanted to start this, but I didn't want to start on such a negative note, especially knowing that we're going to get negative, but sometimes you just got to keep it real, right? So for those of you who are a returning 10 to Lifer, thank you for being here with me today. I love having you guys, love you guys so, so much. And for those of you who are new and have never heard of me, this channel, what we do here, I basically just like to jump on my comfy chair here and talk with you about true crime, about specific cases that either have been bothering me for one reason or another, that you guys have requested, or that I think we can add value to. And the case we're talking about today is one that, like I said, is a lot of deceit, betrayal, and kind of makes you just side-eye everything you thought you knew. So guys, let's jump right in. Taylor Wright was 33 years old in 2017 when this case takes place, and all of her life, Taylor had lived in North Carolina. And while there isn't a lot known about her childhood and her high school years, I do know that her upbringing, it wasn't really the greatest. But it was never something that bogged her down or really ruled her life. She didn't let it hold her back. Now, North Carolina was the place where she grew up, and it's also where she met Jeff Wright, the man that she thought was her absolute forever. It's also where she had her only child and her son, Drake. Now, Taylor loved being a mom. Anyone who knew Taylor or who spent any time around her said that she was just obsessed with her son. She tried to be what she considered a fun mom, and I do think that most of the time she succeeded. She tried to really find that healthy balance of being a good, stern parent, but also enjoying it, and also making sure that he thought his mom was fun, and really trying to find that perfect art and science type balance. Now, North Carolina was also where she started a career in law enforcement. Now, in her personal life, Taylor was just very kind. She was loyal. She was overall just full of life. And it definitely translated from her personal life to her life as a police officer. She was very passionate about her job. But life, to put it bluntly, hadn't been exactly the greatest for Taylor. Not when she was little, and definitely not in the lead up to 2017. Things were a bit chaotic, and she was practically right in the eye of the storm, kind of just waiting to finally get on the right side of things. Now, first of all, her and Jeff's 10-year marriage, it completely fizzled out, and it ended in a pretty tumultuous divorce. I think we can all agree that divorce in general is pretty hard, but it's even more difficult when there's kids involved. And to make matters worse, Taylor was apparently facing some addiction problems with drugs. Now, I want to be clear, the timeline of Taylor's addiction is a little foggy and just unclear. I'm not sure if the problems began before or after her separation from Jeff, or even really how long it lasted. But I do know that it's hard to convince a judge that you'll be the best parent possible when you do have issues with substance abuse. So after the separation, Jeff won full custody of their son, Drake. So all to say, Taylor realized that something needed to change in her life. She definitely wanted to start over fresh. And she was also going through a lot of big changes, and I think she just wanted to take control and make sure that these changes were good for her. Stop just reacting to whatever life threw at her, and maybe sometimes not have reacted in the best way possible. So after a little bit of planning, Taylor decided that she was going to move away from North Carolina and everything that she had been familiar with all of her life, and instead she would go to Pensacola, Florida. Now, for many people, Pensacola is just a basic beach town, and it's also a top-notch vacation spot. But of course, there's also people who live there and call it home full year-round. And Pensacola seemed like a good choice for Taylor. Like I said, the timeline, it's a little foggy, but from my understanding, sometime around then, she did get more of a handle on her drug use. She also retired from the police force and she started working as a private investigator in Florida. So she was making new friends pretty easily, pretty quickly, and she even gave the idea of falling in love another chance. So in her new hometown, Taylor downloaded all the dating apps. I mean, you name them, she downloaded them. And at first, she didn't really expect anything serious or long-lasting, nothing like major to come from it. But then, she met a woman named Cassandra Waller. Now, their relationship, it was just easy. There was no drama, there was no head games, no fights, and no breaking up and then getting back together right away. No, it was just quick and simple. They were able to open up and just click with each other. And even though they hadn't known each other for very long, Cassandra and Taylor just got each other on this whole different level that made this relationship feel right. I mean, from the very beginning, it just was easy. It felt right. So in September of 2017, Cassandra invited Taylor to move in with her. And of course, Taylor said yes. I mean, she was really excited about starting this new journey. It felt like things were finally starting to fall into place and just make sense for her. But it's not like it was all smooth sailing yet. Taylor was still having some trouble with her ex-husband. Like I mentioned earlier, Jeff got full custody of Drake, and that just did not sit right with Taylor. She felt like at the very least, things should be more balanced, like a 50-50 custody split. Now luckily, Drake was older by this time, and he also had a cell phone, so Taylor was able to still talk with him pretty regularly. But I also totally understand that talking on the phone, or even hopping on FaceTime or Zoom, it's not the same thing as spending in-person time together. So she appealed for a new custody arrangement, and she basically kicked off this long, painful, just difficult legal process. Meanwhile, Cassandra was very supportive of Taylor throughout the entire thing. She knew how much Taylor missed her son being in her life. And even though she didn't have kids of her own, she was more than ready to let Drake into her and Taylor's new life together and be like this sort of unofficial stepmom to him. In the meantime, Taylor was making child support payments. She was following all of the rules that the courts had given her. She was really just doing whatever it took. But by the morning of September 8th, 2017, she hit a little bit of a roadblock. See, Taylor had only been living with Cassandra for a few days at that point, but they weren't fully able to enjoy this new phase of their relationship and enjoy this honeymoon period because a custody hearing was coming up. And that's where Taylor was focused. I mean, it had all of her attention completely. She was supposed to be back in court the very next day, and even though this was nothing new, Taylor was visibly stressed out, like maybe the most stressed out that Cassandra had ever even seen her their entire relationship. So Cassandra tried to be as supportive as possible, giving her plenty of encouraging words, reminding her she wasn't alone, I've got your back in this. She had her family, she had her best friend, Ashley MacArthur, and Taylor was actually planning to see Ashley that day, and Cassandra was so happy for her. She hoped that Ashley would just, be able to really help Taylor feel calm and feel grounded in a way that she wasn't able to. Sometimes that happens in relationships, right? It's like there's a different kind of level of comfort that your best friend can give you. Sometimes you just need your best friend, and that's totally okay. Now, Ashley, I will say, was a newer friend, someone that Taylor had met after moving to Florida, but they were best friends regardless. They both had worked in law enforcement before. It was something that they immediately bonded over, and it was kind of like this starting point to help them go from being like, casual acquaintances to then just being best friends. They really just clicked with one another. And Ashley worked as a crime scene investigator, which, like I mentioned, Taylor was also working as a private investigator herself, so they were in similar fields still from their law enforcement days. So by the fall of 2017, they had known each other for about a year, and they were like best friends. So Taylor went to go meet up with her best friend Ashley. And halfway through the day, Cassandra started texting Taylor just to make sure that she was doing okay, that she was kind of starting to relax, become a little bit unstressed. I mean, nothing too serious. And Taylor gave her an answer, a very vague answer, but told her that she would kind of fill her in on everything later. It was kind of weird, but Cassandra understood. Sometimes people just don't want to really text when they're out, they're about, they're busy, maybe they're in conversation. I totally get that. So a few hours went by, and Cassandra figured that she would call her, just check in. Neither one of them were really big on texting in general, and Taylor's message from earlier kind of had Cassandra thinking that maybe she wasn't really feeling like having a lengthy text conversation, so it would be better to just call and check in that way. Well, the phone rang and rang and rang, but Taylor never picked up. Again, sort of weird, but maybe she was just busy. So eventually, Cassandra just decided to reach out to Ashley and see if maybe she could explain why Taylor was being so difficult to reach. And Ashley answered the phone. So at least Cassandra knew that they hadn't gone into a car wreck or something else, like nothing serious like that. And Ashley told Cassandra that Taylor had been pretty upset all day long. She had been crying just pretty much the entire day, so worried about this custody hearing. And according to Ashley, Taylor just felt like she needed just time for herself, time to be alone, time to think things through, and just kind of like prepare for the hearing. So Cassandra understood. I mean, she had seen with her own two eyes how, messed up and how emotional Taylor had been all morning. But it was a little bit odd for Taylor to not tell her own girlfriend that on her own. I mean, wanting space isn't a crime, so a quick call or even a text saying, hey, I've had an awful day, I just don't want to talk, I mean, that would have been fine. So all to say, Ashley's story just kind of started to not sit right with Cassandra. And by that evening, she was just getting to feel more and more weird about the entire situation. She and Taylor had made dinner plans for that evening, but Taylor had also bailed on those, and now she wasn't answering any of her phone calls or any of her text messages. Now, they were literally supposed to meet up at 5 p.m., but by 7 p.m., Cassandra hadn't heard a peep from her. It had been hours. So, what do you think Cassandra did? She texted Ashley again, and she says, hey, where are you guys? What are you guys doing? Have you heard from her? And this is where things start to get really weird. Ashley told her that Taylor had left her house around 5 o'clock, and she hadn't seen her or talked to her ever since. She also said that Taylor had told her that she was going to take an Uber, and she was apparently going downtown by herself to grab a drink and just try to take her mind off things. And weirdly, right when Ashley was telling Cassandra this story, Taylor finally replied to Cassandra. She sent a text message that said, I'll call you later. I'm not angry with you, and I should have called, but I just needed to think. I'm trying to get my life organized and on track. Now, as you can probably guess, Cassandra was majorly confused. It wasn't like Taylor to be so cold, so distant, so uncommunicative. Something just felt off and felt weird, but Cassandra was kind of split on this. I mean, on one hand, she wanted to respect Taylor's wishes. If Taylor wanted to be left alone, she should have the right to be left alone. But on the other hand, nothing about this whole situation felt right to her. And on top of all of that, not too long before, Taylor had told Cassandra about a conversation she had between her and her coworkers, which it didn't seem weird at the time, but now it was a little odd looking back. Taylor told her basically that in her line of work as a private investigator, she could make herself disappear if she wanted to, because she was more than capable of doing it. Now, it didn't ever really seem likely that Taylor would just leave on her own. I think that was just something that people sometimes say, like, oh, I'm so stealth, I'm so sleuthy, I can make myself disappear if I wanted to. So she didn't really ever think anything of it, but now with things not adding up, it did seem a little bit suspicious in hindsight. So you can see why she was torn. I mean, I think it's easy in these cases to blame people for not going to the police right away or maybe, sounding the alarm, raising the red flag. But given the context of the situation, it does make sense that Cassandra stayed quiet for as long as she did. So Taylor's court hearing was originally scheduled for the following day, like I mentioned, and that's the whole reason she had been so anxious and so stressed out. But then the hearing ended up being moved back. So alarm bells still weren't really going off for anybody else in any of this besides Cassandra. And the thing that really changed the balance for her and made Cassandra decide it was time to take action was something that happened after a few days went by. Because that's when Cassandra learned that Taylor wasn't just avoiding her, but she was avoiding everybody. Cassandra reached out to all of her friends, all of her family members, and they were all telling her the exact same thing. They hadn't heard from or seen anything from Taylor either. People were getting worried, and when Cassandra realized that Taylor hadn't even been in contact with her son, that was really the straw that broke the camel's back for her. I mean, ignoring everyone else was one thing, but she would never have blatantly chosen to ignore her son's calls and text messages. So she went to the police station, but unfortunately, they didn't really take things very seriously, like at all. They pretty much told her that she ought to just check in with Taylor's ex-husband and do some more investigating on her own, but to, keep them updated. Cassandra even said that they insinuated that Taylor might be trying to kidnap her son and disappear. But you would think that if they really thought that there was a chance of a child being kidnapped, they would probably get a little more involved in the entire thing. But I don't know, that's just my opinion. Hey, what do I know? The point is, the police told Cassandra to just handle things on her own. So, that's what she did. I mean, she didn't really have many other options. So she talked to Jeff, the ex, but he didn't say anything to make her feel any better, just that he hadn't heard from Taylor, and neither had their son Drake. That wasn't all, though. He also did say something very weird that kind of made Cassandra, scratch her head a little bit. He told her that she shouldn't go to the police about Taylor missing, literally should not go and report her as missing. And he said exactly, it wouldn't be a good look. Apparently, according to Jeff, Taylor might want to go back to being a police officer at some point, so it would be harder to get hired if they had some sort of records saying that she had gone missing at some point. He also told Cassandra that Taylor could get mad at her for getting the police involved in her business, and if she was mad enough, Taylor could be dangerous. So it all just kind of seems weird, right? Why would being reported missing stop her from getting hired later on? And why was Jeff more worried about how all of this would look in some hypothetical future type situation where Taylor was looking for a job than he was right now about Taylor's actual safety? So then Cassandra just said, okay, enough is enough. It was now September 14th, 2017, and she hadn't heard from Taylor in a whole week. So she went back to the police and she told them something was seriously wrong here. They needed to file a missing person report right away. The good news is that this time they did take things more seriously, and they launched an entire investigation. The detectives even put together a timeline of when Taylor was last seen, who the last people were to have seen her, who she spoke with. And even though the day that she went missing wasn't the day that the investigation started, they did consider it the day that she disappeared, since after leaving with Ashley on the 8th, she wasn't seen ever again. And they also took a closer look at her ex-husband, Jeff. I mean, the conversation he had with Cassandra, it was kind of like a whole red flag on its own. Plus, he had also remarried and he was caught up in this whole custody battle with Taylor, which gave him a motive in all of it. So they decided to speak with him. And he told the detectives that he hadn't spoken with Taylor since September 9th, which, keep in mind, was the day after she stopped talking to Cassandra. The last conversation apparently had just been a casual short text, and Jeff said he hadn't physically seen Taylor in person since at least August. But of course, the police had a lot of questions about the things that he had told Cassandra, about how she shouldn't actually report Taylor missing. Well, Jeff said that he assumed that she had just skipped town on her own, and the reason he thought this was because the two of them had shared a bank account, and at some point before Taylor's disappearance, $100,000 went missing from it. So Jeff figured that Taylor had stolen the money from him and then took off, which that makes no sense because why wouldn't you at least report $100,000 missing if you think she stole it from him? Jeff said as soon as he noticed that it went missing, he did take Taylor to court where it was ruled that she had to return the money in their next court hearing or she could go to jail, but apparently Taylor had tried to have that hearing moved back. So when Jeff heard that Taylor had just up and ghosted on everyone, he figured that it was because she either didn't have that money anymore or she didn't want to give it back, so instead she just skipped town. He told the investigators that on the day that Taylor was last seen on the 8th, he was out of town. And with a little digging and some light investigative work, they confirmed that his alibi was airtight. So the police, for the time being, set him aside as a possible suspect. And next, they decided to look at who they always look at, the romantic partner, the spouse, namely Cassandra. Now, I know nobody ever wants to be a person of interest in a missing person investigation, and you might imagine that Cassandra would have been annoyed and offended. I mean, she was the person who actually reported Taylor missing, so how could anyone think that she was guilty of doing something to her? But on the other hand, Cassandra trusted the investigators. She knew that it wasn't personal. They just had to look at every possibility. So she spilled her guts. I mean, she told the police every single detail that she could think of. And some of those details were ugly, including ones specifically from the day that Taylor went missing. Specifically, she admitted that when Taylor wasn't texting her back, and then when she said she needed space and wanted to be alone, Cassandra was super pissed. She responded to Taylor's text by saying things like, "This is not okay. Right now, I don't want you at my house. You have lied again and again. I don't think we can even be together." And also messages like, "You lie. You don't know how to stop. You use drugs." So I know what you might be thinking here. Cassandra told Taylor not to come back. So why was she that shocked when Taylor just didn't come back? Well, those text messages were followed up by plenty of other texts and calls where she told Taylor to come home, to just talk things out with her and, tell her the truth and so on. So the lack of any response and the fact that she never came home to get her things, that was weird. It would have been different if Taylor came home, maybe packed a couple suitcases and got in her car. But her car was still at Cassandra's house. I mean, remember, Ashley had picked her up that day for their day out. So supposedly when Taylor left Cassandra, she also left her car and all of her belongings behind. The point is, while Cassandra was being questioned, she admitted that she had said some pretty harsh and nasty things to Taylor. And this looked suspicious to the detectives. They went in hard on her. And she didn't exactly handle it the best, which made a lot of people think that she looked guilty in this. The investigators then went to Cassandra and Taylor's house, hoping to take a look around. They didn't have a search warrant or anything like that, but Cassandra wanted to be cooperative, so she gave them permission to come inside and check everything out. And right away, they found Taylor's ID, her passport, house keys, car keys, and a cashier's check made out to her for $19,000. So all of that definitely made it seem like Taylor went missing due to foul play. But Cassandra was pretty frustrated that she had been the one fighting for the investigators to even take Taylor's disappearance seriously in the first place, and now they were kind of breathing down her neck, straight up asking if she killed Taylor.
There was a time they came to my house, and at one point, Detective Gigliotti crawled under my house. So I'm sitting on the front porch with Detective Wilhite bawling my eyes out because this is embarrassing. Why am I being looked at?
My intention right now is not to arrest you for anything. I'm trying to find out why your girlfriend's disappeared.
And here I am in this room that they would use to interrogate people, and it's padded walls. It's a place you don't want to be.
I can't help but be scared that I'm going to get in trouble for something that I did when I was trying to help.
If you knew who harmed her, would you tell us?
Absolutely.
If she was dead right now and you knew, would you tell us?
I don't know.
Did you harm her?
No.
Now, this next development is interesting because you'll remember how earlier I mentioned that $100,000 had gone missing from a joint bank account that Taylor shared with Jeff. Well, as it turned out, Cassandra knew a bit more about what had happened to that money, and she told the police everything that she knew. According to Cassandra, Taylor took the money out, but she didn't want to hold on to it herself. Which made sense. I mean, the courts were watching her and they were watching her funds really closely. She wasn't supposed to be taking the money out of that account at all, period, especially without them okaying it first. So if she had then turned around and deposited it into her own account or had a ton of cash on her, it would look super suspicious. So instead, she needed to hide that money somehow. And it was a big enough amount that she decided she wanted to split it up between a few of her friends for safekeeping. Then, if she needed to get her hands on that money later, she could go to those friends and she could ask to withdraw, a little here, a little there, and not have this whole whopping $100,000 moving all around at once. And one of the friends who she gave some of that money to was Ashley, the best friend that she had been with the day that she went missing. And before her disappearance, Taylor had given Ashley $34,000. So anyway, Taylor had taken this money. She split it up and she gave it to other people. And then Jeff took Taylor to court, and a judge told her she had to give back the full $100,000 before the next court date. That meant that Taylor now had to go back to all of those friends and ask them, give me everything, get back, give me all of that money. Now, Cassandra didn't know the full details for this next part of the story, but she knew that for some reason, Taylor was worried that Ashley might not give back the money that she gave her, the $34,000. I'm not sure if that means that she already asked Ashley for the money and Ashley had refused, or maybe if there was just more of like a bad vibe and kind of her guessing. But the point is, Ashley was supposed to give Taylor the $34,000 back. And she maybe not, was going to give it back. And then Ashley was the person that Taylor was with when she went missing and went radio silent. So the investigators went straight to Ashley's house to just ask her a couple of basic questions. Except when they got there, Ashley wasn't home. It's not clear where she was, but her husband Zach was at home. And Zach was cooperative. He confirmed that, yeah, he knew his wife and Taylor had gotten together during the day on the 8th, but that was really all he knew. He said he had no idea where Taylor was well over a week later. He had no clue. So then the police asked if they could search his house, and he kind of figured, sure, why not? He knew they wouldn't find anything, and if it helped the police rule him and Ashley out and move the investigation along and find Taylor, all the better, right? So they did a quick search, but they didn't find anything. They put in their notes that Zach had been fully cooperative, that there was no red flag, that he seemed on the up and up, and they decided from there they were just going to try and track Ashley down because they still wanted to hear from her, straight from her. What's the deal with all the money? What happened on the day when Taylor disappeared? What do you know? So eventually they did find Ashley, and they sat her down for an interrogation. But right away, she made it seem like she didn't think that foul play was involved here. And she was just very casual in her interview. Definitely not like someone who is actually genuinely worried about their friend being missing. And she pretty much chalked the whole thing up to Taylor's addiction.
The only thing I worry about is with the drug situation. I wouldn't even, if I didn't know about the drug situation, I wouldn't be worried about her. I would say Taylor's doing what Taylor does. But then that lifestyle becomes a different group of people.
Sure.
Which is what I worry about with her.
Sure. And we don't know that she ever had intentions on leaving. Maybe she wanted to go have fun, and then someone found her with a bag full of cash. And that's why we have to follow down every single avenue and ask all these questions. You can see where we're.
The whole thing. It's just who convoluted. And who knows? That's the thing. Everybody gets a different piece of some sort of something.
Well, she's going around telling all of y'all different things.
Right.
And we go around, we ask all y'all these same questions.
Right, and then you get 18 different answers.
So we're getting all these different things, and they're not matching up what this person said. And it's not that we necessarily believe that you're being untruthful. It's because I think that you were provided different information.
And that's the problem. I think everybody was. It's just like that with her saying, I'm moving in. She told someone she was building a house. She's not Cass. She said she was building a house. And then she told somebody else that she's moving in Cass and her husband. Cass doesn't have a husband. She's lesbian, and she's with Taylor. And then somebody else is, or I know that she's moving in with Cass, and Cass is building a house. And everybody knows, some sort of fraction of something and none of it makes any sense.
Now, Cassandra had told the police that Ashley had been keeping that $34,000 in a Wells Fargo safety deposit box. But now, Ashley said none of that was true. Well, it was true that she was holding on to the money for safekeeping, but she never actually had a safety deposit box with it. With Wells Fargo, not with the money. And as a matter of fact, she told the police that she didn't even have a checking or a savings account with that bank. So instead, she was keeping all of that money, all those thousands of dollars, in a duffel bag. A super secure place, right? So she said that on the day that Taylor went missing, she picked her up and then went back to her house to grab the money. Because according to Ashley, Taylor was still extremely stressed out and nervous about the court hearing. Ashley hoped that it would make things better when she gave Taylor her money back. But when that didn't work, they decided to go to Ashley's aunt's farm where they could ride horses for a little while and decompress. But she said that even after that, Taylor was still in full-on panic mode. And this was the most stressed that Ashley had ever seen her. In fact, Taylor eventually said that she was even too on edge to do much of anything but drink. So she said she was going to head downtown, hit a bar, be alone, drink her sorrows away. She called an Uber and took off. And it was basically the same story that Ashley had told Cassandra. But the whole time that Ashley was telling this story, she just came across as kind of casual and easygoing. And even if she believed that her friend was just off on some sort of bender, wouldn't she still be at least slightly worried? And also, not to mention, who the heck takes tens of thousands of dollars to a bar in a duffel bag? It would have been a super weird move on Taylor's part. And if nothing else, now that she was missing, you would think that Ashley would have been more worried that Taylor had been mugged or killed over this insane amount of money. And that's all bad, but here's where Ashley's story really started falling apart. The detectives contacted Uber, and that's when they learned that Taylor's Uber account hadn't been used in months, and it definitely hadn't been used on September 8th. On top of that, Cassandra told the detectives that she had never once seen Taylor use Uber during their entire relationship. So unless she had just decided that very day to download it, which yes, is possible, I mean, using that app would have been pretty out of character for her. And this was not a good look for Ashley. And in these cases, sometimes we see suspects trying to go into hiding, lawyering up immediately, like trying to put some distance between themselves and the police. But Ashley was kind of the opposite. I mean, she was doing too much. She kept reaching out to the investigators time and time again and was really stuck on the idea of Taylor being back on drugs, relapsing, and that's the whole cause of all of this.
Hey, Detective Wright, it's Ashley, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Unaware that she had become the prime suspect.
She got back on the cocaine, do we need to, look in alleys, for her, or?
She's definitely curious on what we're doing and where we're at.
She's definitely fishing for information, but we didn't want to tip her off.
I was just calling to see if there was any update or anything going on,
And so, on a regular basis, she would call me. And I had to, of course, be friendly with her.
I hate to bother you, but I just want to check.
All right, thanks, Ashley.
All to say, Ashley looked really suspicious, but we all know acting kind of weird isn't enough on its own to make an arrest. Even the fact that Taylor hadn't called an Uber, it wasn't solid enough evidence for the police on its own to just charge Ashley with anything. They needed more. Ashley had given her timeline of events, starting with when she picked Taylor up on the 8th, all the way to when she claimed Taylor left her house in an Uber that day around 5. So now what the police really needed to do was pick apart her story, break her story down, and disprove her alibi. So the most logical place to start with all of that would be her cell phone. Which, yeah, all of our phones, for the most part, I would say, have a passcode on it. Most of us, I would imagine, have some type of password. I know I do. Except when the detectives asked her what her passcode was, she gave them the wrong one. And not just once. She gave them multiple incorrect passcodes. Like, she was genuinely, actively trying to stop them from getting in. Which, I mean, it's just my opinion, but I mean, might as well just confess that you're guilty of something at that point, right? Who doesn't know the passcode to their phone? And to just keep giving the wrong one over and over again, I mean, figure it out. So then the detectives tried extracting the data on their own. But even then, they needed Ashley's iCloud information. And guess what? Those passwords were, of course, all wrong as well. Now, eventually, they were able to get into the phone, and this is when Ashley's whole story really began to crumble. At the time when Ashley and Taylor were supposed to be riding horses on her aunt's farm, Ashley's cell phone pinged 30 miles away, on the complete opposite side of town. On top of that, her phone records showed that she had never even been on the farm at all that day. It wasn't a matter of getting the times wrong. She wasn't even at the right part of the city at any point all day long. And interestingly enough, though, her phone said that she was on some other property that she and her family owned. She was apparently there all on her own. Her husband, Zach, was out of town, if you'll remember. So she was on a piece of her property, but one that she never mentioned to the police. Then there were the text messages between Ashley and Taylor. The day that Taylor disappeared, she kept talking to Ashley about going to the bank to get the money, needing to get to the bank before they closed, even using the initials WF, which the investigators believe stood for Wells Fargo. But remember, Ashley said she didn't even have any accounts at Wells Fargo, that she hadn't kept Taylor's money there. She kept it in a duffel bag. But clearly, Taylor was fully expecting that they were going to go to Wells Fargo that day. Neither one of them said anything about a duffel bag full of cash in their text exchange. Now, based on these texts, the investigators believed that on the day that Taylor went missing, she and Ashley were going to hang out. Hang out as planned, be best friends. But they thought that more specifically, Ashley was supposed to give Taylor the money that she had been holding on to, and Taylor fully expected to get it. Except the detectives didn't think that Ashley actually wanted to give the money back, or that she ever even intended to give the money back. And they thought that she might have even done something to Taylor so she wouldn't have to return the money, and so she could keep all of that money for herself. So when they looked at one of Ashley's bank accounts, get this, they saw that she had deposited exactly $34,000 right before Taylor's disappearance. Now, to all accounts, she didn't have a Wells Fargo account, so I don't believe that this was deposited at the Wells Fargo account, but probably another bank. But the fact of the matter is, she did deposit the money, even though she told the investigators she never had, that it was just cash. So I think that would be a hard question to mess up on if you were telling the truth, right? And the craziest thing in all of this is the fact that she was so stupid to try and even deny the fact that she had deposited this money because it was all caught on camera, the whole thing. On top of that, when Ashley deposited those checks, it was pretty obvious that she had forged Taylor's signature, or at least somebody had. The point is, it wasn't Taylor's handwriting. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, Ashley said that Taylor gave her the money. Cassandra said the same thing. So the only real discrepancy here was that Ashley said she kept it in a duffel bag, but in reality, it was in her bank. So maybe the main part of the story was still true. Maybe Ashley held the cash in her account for a little while, then withdrew it, put it in a bag, and then gave it to Taylor. Except the money wasn't in her account anymore. And not because she withdrew it as cash or wrote a check to Taylor, but rather because she spent it on herself. She paid off her credit cards, she spent the money on other things, she even bought a motorcycle. All with the money that was technically meant for Taylor and not meant for Ashley to spend. Now, one little random side note, I know we already mentioned that Ashley's husband, Zach, was cleared of any involvement, but I've got to wonder if he was ever curious about where his wife was getting all of this money. It's not like she found a $20 bill in the pocket of her pants. I mean, $34,000 is a lot of money. So you would think at some point he'd be wondering how Ashley was paying for all of this stuff, buying a new motorcycle, all of these things. But anyway, Zach wasn't the key person here. It was Ashley. So then the police decided to search 3 separate properties that were owned by Ashley and her family. The first was her and Zach's house, and the second was a warehouse because apparently, according to the warrant, Cassandra had told the police that Ashley was holding on to some boxes for Taylor. Remember, Cassandra and Taylor had just moved in together, and Taylor had a bunch of boxes, apparently, of different things that she hadn't unpacked yet. However, they were taking up too much room, so a week after the disappearance, Cassandra had reached out to Ashley, who gave her permission to stash those boxes at Ashley's warehouse. Which, I know that was a little confusing, so let me just recap. Taylor's boxes were at the house where she had just moved in with Cassandra. But then Cassandra put them in Ashley's warehouse, which is kind of weird to me because I can't imagine having someone you love go missing and then a week later being like, oh, well, time to get rid of all their stuff, all their clutter. Let me call the best friend and ask if they can store it. Like, it's kind of a weird move, in my opinion. That's all I'm saying, but let me know what you think. Now, I know that it isn't important in the grand scheme of things, but I kind of can't help be hung up on that part. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it is kind of weird. And it kind of just seems like everybody is acting suspicious at this point, right? So among other things, those boxes included Taylor's toothbrush and her hairbrush. So the police wanted to go to the warehouse so that they could get DNA samples from them. Not necessarily because they thought that they were going to find other evidence there, but possibly maybe get some DNA. And again, who gets rid of somebody's toothbrush and hairbrush after they go missing, especially if you think they're going to return? Now, the third property and the third warrant was for a farm across town, and this was where Ashley's phone showed that she actually was on the day that Taylor disappeared. Now, while all of these searches were going down, the police also asked Ashley to come down to the station for another interview. Partially to see if she still would keep her story straight, and partially so that she would be somewhere that they could keep an eye on her. They didn't want to find incriminating evidence and then have her immediately be able to skip town and become impossible to arrest. So let's get right into the interview because it's pretty interesting. At first, they started off small and they were going pretty easy on her, just asking questions that should be fairly simple to answer. And then they asked about Taylor's money.
Do you know whose signature that is?
It says Taylor's name, but it doesn't really look like her signature.
Would you have maybe wrote her name on there by chance?
Probably not.
And look, if y'all are on the account together and you have permission to, well, that's what we're getting at is, did you have permission to?
Oh, I didn't. I mean, she told me to deposit all the checks that I deposited. There should be several others as well.
There's this one, right? You want to put that one in there?
Mm-hmm.
Is that clearly Taylor's signature?
I mean, it looks like it. Her signature is usually more bubbly.
But it's different. Obviously, those two signatures are different.
Oh, sure.
Correct.
But
you would agree with that, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How about this one? Is this one you would have put in there, you think?
Probably.
And what about that signature?
This is what her signature usually looks like. It's more bubbly.
These two seem more similar than this one to those, correct? That's why I was asking earlier if you've ever signed her name to something. personally, I don't care if she's telling you can, that's fine.
I don't know, but I mean,
Dealings
like,
with the bank.
she just, I mean, we are,
So this is this your signature?
Mhm.
To me, that looks more to that kind of writing. But, you know, I'm not a handwriting expert. I'll never claim to be a handwriting expert. But all these signatures are yours, correct?
right.
Okay. Okay, that's just those other ones. All right. Sorry for the, again, it's not an issue with me. I just needed to, if you wrote that, that's fine. I just need to know if you wrote it.
I didn't, but I don't know, I mean, it doesn't look like her signature to me either, but
Did Zach have written her name on there?
I didn't even use that account ever.
So,
I mean, I know that I deposited this.
okay. What happened to this money after you deposited it?
A lot of it I used because it was payment for the money that I had been given to her.
I mean, she knew that you were going to do that with that check?
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine, it's a joint account.
That's why we did the account like that.
So what we did is we had the ability to plot all your phone calls for that day, where you were. Taylor. And this, it all starts at 9:05, okay? So 9:05, you're probably at home.
Right.
I got that one. 8:15, you're probably at home. 9:05. 9:13. 9:15. And it's the same tower, just, well, it's a different tower because it's on the south side of your house. But what it does is there's 3 towers, and your phone will communicate with the one that's got the best signal.
Right.
And that's how it knows what, that's how you always know to drop a call. It looks like you're moving here. This may have been, I don't know where you may have been going, but it was 9:51. Do you know about what time y'all went over to your office after you picked her up? 10:13, you know where y'all may have been going. You know what time you picked her up? Let me ask you that. It may be easier.
Probably, I thought it was about 10:30, but I could be wrong.
Then, for some reason, it didn't capture any more towers from 10:30 to 12:10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, at 12:10, you are in here.
Mm-hmm.
We know that your aunt and uncle and Kyle own the farm there on Britt Road.
Right.
And it's showing that you're probably near that farm, or if not at that farm. And you're there when, this is the time when you're telling us that you're probably in Milton or headed towards Milton, because it's 12:10 in the afternoon.
We were still on the Beulah side then.
Yeah, but if you're at that Tom Thumb, it's going to be covering down here, not up here. The Tom Thumb is not covered by this tower. Okay. 12:10, 12:22, 12:46, you're still covering the farm. 12:47, 13:01, or sorry, 13:11, which is 1:11.
You recall who has been calling?
There's no telling, like, I get so many calls each day.
You're out here for quite a while. Then you leave around, at least at 13:44, your phone's not communicating with the part of the tower that covers Britt Road. What were y'all doing out there at this farm? So we know y'all were there.
We picked up some stuff that Taylor had there that
What was there?
she had stored. Some kind of lockbox that she had.
Why would you not tell us that originally?
Because she asked me not to tell anyone ever.
That's not going to fly.
I gotcha.
Okay. If it's so regular Why wouldn't you tell us about this? Even if she didn't want you to tell us about it, we're working a missing person case where your friend for over a year is missing.
I honestly didn't think it was very important to this at all.
Why was the rest of the day important, though?
I mean, really, that whole day was not. I mean, like, us going to my office for the
I think something happened and you're trying to forget about it, personally. Okay. And that's fine. That's fine.
Here's the thing. You tell us that y'all went out to Milton and rode horses.
Right.
Honestly, did that happen?
Yes, it did.
So, you'll have cell tower hits.
There should be cell tower hits in Milton at some point in that day.
Not when you're having dinner with Zach.
No.
But after you left Beulah.
There should be.
There's no phone hours, none.
Well,
Not you go out there with Zach.
Phone calls.
Well, you have phone calls all day because here's your phone record.
Sure.
160 pages worth.
Oh, I understand.
All right, so you go back out there. When you say you're not sure if you went back out, probably didn't. You actually did go back out there at 2:45. And you're out there for quite a while again.
So, really, in essence, you spent, it seems like, at least a large portion of the majority of your day out here.
It really wasn't, though. I mean, we were
several hours
here and...
You're still there. And you're still there. Yeah, you're still there.
And look,
yeah, there's two different phone calls. There's two different calls.
So, like Chad said, you know, I feel there's a reason you don't want to tell us this, but the thing is, I know you're not a bad person.
Now, the interrogation itself is interesting because you can very clearly see the two men taking on the roles of good cop, bad cop. We have the one on the right who is trying to, empathize with Ashley, tell her he knows she's a good person and a good friend. And then we have the one on the left asking all the hard questions. It was a risky move, but you can just tell from Ashley's body language that it was working. Every time, the bad cop asked the hard questions, Ashley turns to the good cop for help that she was not going to get, but looking to get the answers or looking for someone to confide in. And they kind of knew that she was eventually going to end up folding.
Again, we're talking about a little baby boy who's missing his mom, and we need to let him know what happened.
I don't know what happened to her.
Let me ask this. Why did you go back out to that farm on Brent Road the next morning?
Maybe to feed horses? I don't know.
They also brought up a new detail, which also contradicted everything Ashley had previously said. We know that based on her version of events, that Taylor left in the Uber, then texted her a few hours later pretty much saying that she wanted to be left alone. But Taylor's cell phone records showed that when that text was sent from her phone to Ashley, her phone was still on Ashley's property.
Here's the problem with that. You say you got a text message from her the evening of the 8th saying, hey, I'm okay, I just got to get away and get my head clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's not possible.
So the phone was...
You have her phone.
I don't have her phone.
Well, at that point, at that time, a text came from her phone to your phone, according to you, saying...
Well, I mean, that's what popped up on my phone.
What?
I mean, I had a message pop up on my phone.
How did her phone end up back in your truck?
That I don't know. I mean, that's what I mean. I don't know that it ever left. I just got her stuff and took it to Cass.
Well, supposedly she left with her phone because she sent you a text message. That's what you're saying.
She had two phones.
Okay, but the phone that she sent you a text message on is the same phone that tower ping's hitting off of.
It may be, but that I have no idea.
Where is Taylor at?
I have no idea.
You need to tell us where she's at.
I don't know where Taylor is. I don't have a clue.
Well, if you were put in a situation where someone pushed you to do something for whatever reason, maybe against your will, perhaps in self-defense, if something happened and you're scared, don't be scared. Okay, if something happened, like I said, you're not a bad person. You're not a career criminal. This is a person who's traveled across states to take care of a friend. If something happened, tell us.
I don't know where she is.
We have a detective talking to Kyle right now. We know you got text Kyle and asked him if he was at that farm on the 8th. Multiple times.
They have. I don't...
then you withhold that information from us. But the person who is trying to help a friend out, who cares for their friends, don't lie to the police when they are looking for them.
I didn't think that was...
Tell me what you did to her.
I didn't do anything to her.
Tell me what Zach did.
Somebody harmed her, and she's probably out of that farm.
Zach was never even around her.
Kyle.
Kyle's never been around her.
Brandon.
He's never been around her.
So that leaves you.
So you're the only one that was with her on this day at this farm that you did not disclose to us?
I didn't do anything to
You
her.
say this, if she's at that farm, we're going to find her because we're executing a search warrant out there right now.
That's fine, but she's not going to be there.
Then where's she at?
I don't know where she
Where's
is.
her body at?
I don't know where she is.
She's dead, though. You
I
know
don't
that?
believe that. I don't
Ashley,
believe that at all.
the thing is we know that you had knowledge that phone was there because a text was sent to your phone from that phone. It was in your possession. It was at the same location. So either Taylor was sitting in your bedroom with you, right, texting you, and you somehow didn't know, and then stayed in your car with you and communicated with other individuals the entire next day, all the way out to the wedding, went to this wedding, and was hiding in your car. There's no way humanly possible that you didn't have knowledge of the phone.
I don't.
The thing is, I think that you're concerned. I think that you're scared.
Now, at this point, Ashley lawyered up, and even though the police weren't finished with their searches, they had no choice but to let her go. They were still confident, based on all of the information that they had, though, that Taylor was dead, and they thought that her body was at that farm. And sure enough, before the search was complete, just 2 hours or so after they started looking around, they made a discovery. It was now October 9th of 2017, just 1 month after Taylor had gone missing. They found a human body, and the skull had a bullet-sized hole in it. On the day that she disappeared, Taylor had been wearing a very particular necklace. There was a similar necklace on this body too, which Cassandra confirmed later was Taylor's. Dental records also confirmed that the body on Ashley's farm was in fact 33-year-old Taylor Wright. It had been covered up with concrete and potting soil, all in an attempt to keep it hidden for, well, forever. Ashley had really gone to some serious lengths to try and stop Taylor from being discovered, but she hadn't done a good enough job. So she was arrested that evening, and she was charged with first-degree premeditated murder.
Hello?
Hey, Zach, your wife is, she's being arrested this evening and charged with murder.
What?
Taylor's cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back of her head. The murder weapon was never explicitly found, but Ashley did own a lot of guns. So the police figured that there was a good chance that one of those guns was the one that had killed Taylor. Now, the detective's theory was a bit rocky, as it always is when someone won't confess, and tell you all of the details. But they believed that Ashley picked up Taylor that day with the intent of killing her. They believed that Ashley had panicked, almost like a wild animal being cornered, and she was panicking when Taylor continued to tell her she wanted to get her money out of that safety deposit box. She knew she had a court hearing coming up. Maybe Ashley thought she'd have more time to make the money back after spending it. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know the details. But my biggest question was how on earth Ashley even got Taylor out to that farm to begin with. I would think that Taylor was probably pretty antsy and wasn't wanting pit stops along the way on the way to the bank, but maybe she thought that they were driving to her family's house. Maybe Ashley smooth talked her way around it. I don't know. It's really hard to know what exactly took place without Taylor here to tell us. But what we do know is that Taylor ultimately ended up dead, shot in the back of her head by her best friend, and then buried on a farm. That in and of itself showed that Taylor knew what she had done, and she was purposefully, intentionally trying to cover her tracks. Her bail was eventually set at $400,000, which Ashley was able to pay, which I gotta say is kind of wild to me, because if she had access to that kind of money, why would you kill someone over $34,000? Either way, she got out in February of 2018, which had a lot of people feeling pretty angry and outraged, like this was unfair. Her trial then began on August 26, 2019, almost 2 full years after Taylor's death. And during that trial, Cassandra testified. We heard about some of the text messages that were supposedly sent from Taylor when she was missing, and how they hadn't sounded at all like her. But Cassandra got into the specifics during her testimony.
Now, after Ashley left your house that night on the 8th, did you hear from her any more that night?
I did.
Okay, and what was the nature of that
I'm sorry,
contact?
wait, you said from Taylor?
No, from Ashley. Did you hear from Ashley after she left your home that night?
I did.
Okay, and what was the context of that contact?
She texted me late in the evening. It was almost midnight. She sent me a screenshot of a text that she received from Taylor. And she just said, I'm sorry to text you so late. I just received this, thought that you might want to see it.
Okay. And did you read the text message that was from Taylor to her?
I did.
And again, same question as earlier, did that text message sound like Taylor to you?
That one seemed very odd.
Okay.
Same objection.
Same objection.
Rule the same.
Thank you.
And why did it seem very odd?
Because she said court and the move was stressing her out. She was stressed with court. She wasn't stressed out about the move at all. She was very excited.
You're talking about the move, you mean
moving into my house.
Okay.
Now, guys, I don't usually like to spend a ton of time talking about the trials because usually by the time an investigation gets to this point, all of the evidence has come out and it's just about showing the jurors what the police already know. But this case had a real shocker. See, Ashley had been having an affair with a man named Brandon Beatty. He said that he had met Ashley at a time when she owned a bar, and he was a regular there, and that's how they met. Eventually, they started sleeping together.
Did Ashley MacArthur ever say anything about Taylor Wright to you?
Once, a couple different times. Like once I think they was in New Orleans together or something.
Okay.
And then when the girl come up missing, like she told me her friend was missing, you know.
Okay. And what did she say about her friend being missing?
The police had took her phone, or she told me that the girl had ran off with her husband's money or something, and just gone.
Okay. And what else did she say about finding her?
That she told me they'll never find that bitch. She's gone.
Now, speaking of that bar, Ashley had a bartender working for her, a woman named Audrey Warner. And you know the stereotype about bartenders, how people see them, they drink, they spill their guts? Listen to this.
Did there come a time where Ashley said something about harming Taylor?
About putting cocaine in her beer.
Okay. And can you tell us, if you recall the date and where this conversation took place?
September 7th at Sticks Billiards.
Okay. And who all was there?
Me, Ashley, and Jessica.
And what did Ashley say to you about Taylor that night?
That the world would be a better place without Taylor.
Okay. And you said something about cocaine. What specifically did Ashley say about cocaine?
How much coke do you think it would take to kill somebody?
Truly disgusting. Now, the defense's main good argument was that Ashley had been in a bad car accident back in 2010, and that she hurt her back in this accident in a way that would have made it impossible for her to lift the 50-pound bag of cement that she had to use to cover Taylor's body. Except there were actually surveillance camera recordings of Ashley in Home Depot buying these bags of cement the day after Taylor went missing. I mean, even if she did have a hard time lifting them, it's pretty hard to argue that she's innocent when you have clips and footage like this. Still though, Ashley's team tried. They were hoping for a Hail Mary. They even found a Home Depot employee who testified on their behalf. Specifically, he said that the concrete that they sold at the store was different from the concrete that Taylor was buried underneath.
Is the concrete that this lady purchased, is it textured?
No, ma'am. It's like fine dust.
Is it like rocky?
No, ma'am.
What's it says?
No, ma'am.
Needless to say, this made Ashley's lawyers pretty happy.
I leaned back and made a comment to my dad. The comment was just boom, like I was happy, and I'm sure you can get the photographs. He said the concrete that Miss MacArthur bought was very fine like dust. The concrete on top of Taylor Wright's body was very pebbly. You could see rocks in it. It was not fine like dust.
But after a little more than 2 hours in deliberation, the jury came back with a verdict.
In the Circuit Court in Forest, Gambia County, Florida, State of Florida versus Ashley Britt MacArthur, case number 1717CF005844A. Verdict as to the charge in count 1, we We, the jury, find the defendant, Ashley MacArthur, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm as charged in the indictment. So say we all. David A. Faust, foreperson, dated August 30th, 2019.
Mr. Barry Barassa, do you want the clerk to poll the jury? All right, Renee's going to ask y'all each a question, okay?
Is this your individual verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Is this your verdict? Is
Yes,
this your
it is.
verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
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 Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
Now, we know every case we cover is senseless, right? But it doesn't make this any less shocking. It just makes no sense to me how Ashley actually thought she was going to get away with this. And what even for? To pay off a couple of credit cards and buy a motorcycle that you can't even use now because you're in prison? I mean, at least Taylor's family and friends got a little bit of closure and they know where her body is, because I would have hated for this case to have just ended with everybody thinking that she just like up and left everyone willingly. But still, even though there's that sense of peace or closure, it doesn't bring answers, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Not closure, maybe closure, but like, it's so senseless, and I freaking hate that word. We need a new word for senseless. But like, now her son is growing up without a mother. Now Cassandra, who finally found this partner, like she doesn't have her, all for what? For 34 grand, which, by the way, you clearly had that money because you were able to post the 10% of your bail amount at $400,000, which is 40 grand. Like, why? And I get it. It's a tale as old as time. It's greed. It's money. But it's like, more times than not, I know there are cases out there, but more times than not, we see that between spouses and partners, not friends. It's like, if we already can't trust people and we have to background check every single person we date, now we have to background check our friends or like be sketchy of them and like look at them with a side eye. Are they going to kill me over my money? I mean, if you're ever thinking of farming out a lot of money for people to hold for whatever reason, think twice, my friends. Honestly, think twice. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another case. These cases just enrage me, the senselessness of it all. But I appreciate you sticking through and hearing Taylor's story today. And just hopefully it'll make everybody be a little bit more alert and cautious. Again, not to fearmonger, but it's like, this is the world we're living in, right? All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you don't want to miss any other cases like this, make sure you take a second. It's totally free and it's a way to support the channel. Hit that subscribe button and I will be back with you again very soon. Until then, stay safe. Bye.